So, Honorary President, honoured guests, one and all, good afternoon. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to our triple celebration event this afternoon for CHBN's 44 years as a hospital radio service, 10 years as a community radio service, and also the opening of our state-of-the-art amazing digital radio studio that hopefully many of you will get to see later if you haven't already. Before we start, I'd just like to begin with a message from TV presenter Richard Madeley.
Hi, Richard Madeley here. I'd just like to say many congratulations to CHBN for providing a hospital radio service for the last 44 years. And of course, a community radio service to Truro for the last 10 years. Also, I'm delighted to be able to help CHBN with the opening of state-of-the-art digital radio stations, the latest in a number of leaps forward in the organisation over the years. So once again, congratulations. Huge congratulations.
Many thanks to Richard Madeley for that message. So, going back 44 years, the registered charity Truro Hospital Radio came into being back on the 2nd of July 1980, thanks to the Lions Club of Truro, whom I'm delighted and absolutely thrilled that we have representatives there that can be with us today, including one that was around right at the very beginning back in 1980, which was absolutely amazing. So I'm so pleased that you can be here to help support and celebrate with us. And I must say we're forever indebted to the Lions Club for their support, both in the early days to establish the organisation and also their significant investment back in the early 2000s. And it was interesting that I saw press cutting from back in those days just a moment ago. And it's lovely to think that they were involved in a big way when we moved back into the main hospital building back in the early 2000s. But also the Lions Club have been kind and generous supporters to us for many years since then. So, we really, really do appreciate the friendship and the support that they show. So nearly 4.5 decades from the establishment of Truro Hospital Radio, as it was known in those days, the station still continues to be run entirely by volunteers. And even though the station has evolved, the key aim remains the same, to try and alleviate the stress and boredom associated with a stay in hospital or with poor health. And as an organisation, some of the achievements over the last 25 years have shown that actually we're not content with standing still. We feel there's always far more that we can be doing to improve our service. In 2002, we went from being a service that only broadcast for a few hours in the evening to running a full 24-hour service thanks to the implementation of a computerised playout system. As mentioned in 2005, following raising £20,000, we moved from one of the residential blocks in the hospital back into the main hospital building and bringing us back into the heart of the hospital and creating, importantly, a disabled-friendly studio and reception area, which we didn't have before. We couldn't previously accommodate people with disabilities, so it was amazing to be able to do that when we moved back into the hospital. Previously, West Cornwall and St Michael's had their own hospital radio service. However, sadly, that closed in the early 2000s. So in 2009, and thanks to the hospital IT system, we extended our service to include those sites as well. And in 2013, we opened a second disabled accessible studio adjoining the existing space, which really opened up opportunities for us and allowed us to train more volunteers, enhance their skills and experience, and significantly improve the number of organisations and quantity of material that we could include in our programme schedule and broadcast a range of topics around health, wellbeing and lifestyle, which is something that has evolved and developed and certainly continues today. And that was thanks to successful fundraising of £30,000 to build that premises and that studio and get that fit for use. So fast forwarding then, we then talk about how community radio came about and how we began to broadcast on FM. So despite having good studio facilities and a strong heritage, like any organisation has too, we had to keep reviewing what we do. We had to look and adapt to change as we go through the time. And in the late 2000s, we noticed that the length of stay in hospital was becoming less, we also felt vulnerable because at the time we broadcast through the hardwired entertainment system at the hospital, and we felt if that ceased to exist, which it did eventually happen, without anything else, we would be very vulnerable and potentially off air overnight. So we had to really look at opportunities there for how we could try and improve and how we could develop to make sure that we're serving needs for the future. We also looked at NHS strategy, both nationally and locally, and saw there was much more focus on continuing care for people in their own home and also supporting people once they're discharged from hospital, and also a need for promoting health, well-being and lifestyle information to help improve people's general health and well-being, which will hopefully in turn relieve pressure on the health services and potentially even prevent admission or readmission back into hospital. So with all that in mind, we took the bold decision of trying to work towards applying for what was a community radio licence from Ofcom, which would make us available to broadcast on FM to Truro and the surrounding areas, and also open up the opportunity for us to broadcast online as well. In 2009, we did a 3-week trial broadcast to test that hypothesis. Easy for me to say, and it was very well received, very successful, and received a lot of support from the local community. So following a successful submission of an application for a full-time community radio licence, we launched the community radio service just over 10 years ago on the 14th of April 2014, and having since then been broadcasting to Truro and the surrounding areas on 100.8 FM and online, but I'm sure you all know that anyway. This has allowed a real stronger link between the patient and the loved one outside, and as both can tune in at the same time and hear their request. And it's allowed more patients to have access to our service, and allowed for the first time for us to serve the many outpatients here, and also those that visit the Royal Cornwall Hospital, and also work closer with the Royal Cornwall Hospitals Trust and the staff and volunteers within the organisation. Broadcasting to the wider community has helped ease the transition between hospital and returning home, and allowed us to help those who may be isolated in their own home due to poor health or other reasons. And we hope that it can help reduce possible future admission by conveying health, well-being information, advice that might be useful to somebody listening, their family members, their carers, and importantly, letting people know what's happening in their local community, encouraging them to take simple steps to go out and be part of that to help their physical and mental well-being as well. CHBN was actually one of the first 3 hospital radio stations in the country to apply for and be awarded a community radio licence, and since then we've helped other stations around the country that have wanted to try and follow in our footsteps to do the same thing. So over the last 10 years, we've worked with so many individuals and organisations across the community each week on a range of topics around health, wellbeing and lifestyle matters. And it's a continuing journey. We're always trying to get deeper into the community of Truro and be an even better station for those who live, work, study or receive medical treatment or assessment within this area, making new connections almost every week. Since we launched the community in 2014, our programme schedule has transformed from barely 10 hours of original programming when we were a hospital radio station to each week over 80 hours of original programming that our team produce, which is an amazing achievement and something that will be a huge benefit to people listening wherever they are. A number of our programmes have even featured and had recognition in National Hospital Radio Awards and Community Radio Awards to show that we're amongst one of the best in the country as well. And when the COVID lockdown came in March 2020, the station had to change once again. So to protect the patients and staff, we access to the studio was restricted just to technical people only for important maintenance. But we couldn't cease broadcasting. In fact, it was even more important that we broadcast to our community at those times to try and overcome isolation and loneliness, which were feelings that probably we were all feeling around about those times. So So thanks to Mike Brown, we very, very quickly came up with a way that would allow presenters to be able to broadcast from home. And some people had their own equipment, and I know that quite a few other volunteers went and bought their own equipment out of their own money so that they could carry on the service broadcasting from home as well. So we were immensely proud that we could carry that through, and we had 26 home studios functioning by the end, which was an amazing achievement. Meanwhile, there was a surge in demand from the community to include more information on what was happening or what wasn't happening and how to access things. So out of this came the Community Help Show, which is a staple of our schedule that continues to this day as a regular feature, which is letting people know what happens in their community and providing support and raising awareness to those who need it. And we featured probably hundreds of organisations, even just throughout the COVID years. The 10 Today exercise programme that we were one of the founding radio stations on, and we worked with Demos and Sport England on before COVID, took on a whole new level of importance and was even deemed so important that the broadcasts that we produced in-house were being broadcast on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra, and I had people contacting me, slightly surprised to hear some of our voices on that platform at the time. So that brings us to the studio and what inspired the third part of our celebration today. COVID brought a renewed focus on the really ambitious project that we had to try and complete and transform and digitise the radio studio, or Project Digital as it was known. So during the lockdowns, we found that we were limited by the inflexible and analogue equipment that we had, and it didn't cope well with receiving contributions from people who were outside, so for instance from listeners or organisations or presenters that were remote from the studio. Secondly, we had organisations that wanted to participate more deeply in our programming by hosting their own weekly or monthly programmes, but the complexities of the old equipment really made that challenging to do. And we recognised that we would never have the resources within the station to always pair a technician from CHBN with the organisation, so we needed to look at finding an easy way that the organisations could produce their own programmes or programme content. And thirdly, the mixing consoles in both the studios were starting to show their age, and there were thousands of metres of analogue cabling, much of which was undocumented, which made maintenance a bit of a nightmare and risky at best. So when Colin McLaren first joined the organisation to help technically, he said to me, "Why do we need all this cabling? Surely there must be a simpler solution." Well, funnily enough, the solution was to take the ambitious step of upgrading the mixing desks and all the associated equipment to digital, removing the need for much of that cabling and simplifying the operation and maintenance with changes being in software rather than on physical switches and cabling and so forth. Digital equipment would make it easier for our presenters for us to train our new presenters how to use it, and also other organisations as well. It would mean also that we're better able to support our presenters remotely. We spent many, many hours researching and designing the configuration that we wanted, and made road trips to Torbay Hospital Radio and our good friends at Hospital Radio Plymouth, and to look at the equipment they had to help us reach the decision as to what we were going to get. In the end, we made the bold decision of adopting a touchscreen mixing console, which hopefully those of you who haven't seen it will get to see later on. This was so cutting edge that there were no other case studies on that particular system in this country. We had to go to Canada. Well, we didn't go to Canada, but we had to contact people in Canada in order to get views on their experiences. Needless to say, they were delighted with it. We had it on a trial basis. We were really pleased with it. So we actually then decided to adopt that and install that. And the total cost for everything that we wanted to achieve was about £45,000. So after hundreds of hours of emailing, phone calls and grant applications, together with support from advertisers, members and the wider community, we finally reached the ambitious target. So by the end of 2021, we placed the orders for equipment. We narrowly avoided price rises, which became a regular occurrence after that, but we had a long wait for equipment to arrive due to component shortages at that time. So by the autumn of 2022, we were starting to look at configuring the new equipment, but there was a pause due to essential fire safety work that needed to be done in the basement area of the hospital. However, work to finish configuring and testing the equipment resumed in spring 2023, and we welcomed our team back into the facilities about a year ago now. Testament to the training by Mike Brown, Steve Foster, Harley Rowlands, and all the team. All the team really took to the equipment like ducks to water, and we've had so many positive comments about it since, from how easy it is to use, and also they really like how clean and simple and straightforward all the layout is. And the RCHT communications team were the first organisation to use the new facilities to produce their own programme. We've got Access Cornwall who'll be joining on air very, very soon. And we've got other people that we're talking to again who are interested in hosting their own programmes. All opportunities that have really now been opened up as a part of the latest developments. And the studios are truly state-of-the-art. And I'm honoured and proud with the studios. And I hope that when you get to see them later, you'll see why. My heartfelt thanks goes to all the very generous individuals and organisations that contributed financially to the project. I'm pleased to say some of whom are here with us today, and we really wouldn't have achieved what we have without your support. And that includes the National Lottery Community Fund, Cornwall Community Foundation, Inclusivity Project, the Friends of the Royal Cornwall Hospital, Norman's Family Charitable Trust, Kenwyn Parish Council, and of course the Lions Club of Truro. And I must also pay tribute to Colin McLaren for having the vision and ambition for us to go fully digital, and also for Colin, Jeff Sanders, Mark Webster, Harley Rowlands, Mike Brown and Derek Pascoe, all of whom helped bring the studios to fruition, putting hundreds of hours in between them in order to make the studios the best that they can be. And all of our achievements wouldn't have been possible without the support of our truly wonderful team of members, past and present, who I've worked alongside. As I'm sure you're aware, there's a huge amount of work that's involved in sustaining and running an organisation with so many different aspects, both on air and behind the scenes, that are involved each and every day. Collectively, the current team of just over 30 volunteers give around 389 hours each week of their own time to benefit the listeners. And just to put that in perspective, if we were to pay their wage bill, that will be over £288,000 a year. This year we've been focusing on recruiting new volunteers, and I'm delighted to say we've got a number of those with us now. So please do, if you haven't already, make yourselves known to them and make them feel very, very welcome, because I'm delighted to have the membership growing this year so that we can continue to become an even better station than we are at the moment. It's a great honour to be working and have worked with some really talented and amazing individuals who all show an exceptional level of enthusiasm, commitment and dedication. And I'd like to say my sincere thanks to each and every one of them. It really does mean so much that you're giving so much of your own time to help and support the listeners. I'd also like to take a moment to thank all of the supporters, our associates, our advertisers, and everybody that helps out in both financially and in other ways behind the scenes. Again, the service costs over £10,000 a year to keep us going. So actually, your support and your help really, really does make a huge, huge, huge difference and helps us be able to help and benefit more people over time. Finally, I just want to give a quick mention to one individual who isn't here with us but deserves special recognition. It's my mum, Elizabeth Sanders, and it's fair to say, without her dedication, commitment and perseverance in the face of adversity, the charity would have long closed. 24 years ago, the organisation was going through a hugely difficult time. There was infighting that was prevalent, administration and policy seemed pretty much non-existent, and the station had lost its focus. And this was where Elizabeth stepped in and then spent thousands of hours cleaning everything up and putting the organisation on a firm footing. Many of the achievements of recent times that I mentioned were all the visions of Elizabeth. Elizabeth died suddenly in 2009, so wasn't able to see the projects through to fruition. But the committee have been absolutely committed to continuing the sterling work that Elizabeth did. And I hope that you'd all agree with me when I say that I'm immensely proud of the organisation and what it's achieved and continues to achieve following her support all of those years ago. It's been an immensely exciting journey for CHBN, and we have big plans for the future to engage closer with the healthcare community and the Truro community. And I'd just like to finish by saying my sincere thanks to the Royal Cornwall Hospitals Trust and all of our associate supporters for their continued support and generosity. So I'm sure, and one last thank you is for the tremendous amount of work that's gone into organising the celebration today. So I'd like to say a huge thank you, particularly to Clarissa, Derek, Jean and Peter Young for all their help ensuring that everything today goes smoothly. And thanks also to the and to Charlie, and don't forget Charlie. And finally, my heartfelt thanks go to each and every one of you for attending today and being here on this special day. Whether you're a supporter, a listener, a friend of CHBN or a volunteer or a new volunteer, we wouldn't be able to do it without your support, so very much appreciate everything that you do for us. You know, it really helps, and we look forward to your support over many, many years to come. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to invite our President, Justin Lee, to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you very much, everyone, for inviting me today. As Mark mentioned, I'm Honorary President of CHBN, and it is an honour, a great honour to be President, because I couldn't be more proud of what this organisation has achieved. I feel a bit of a fraud in a way because I come along to the AGMs every February and hear all the marvellous work that everyone's been doing for 12 months prior to the AGM. And I sit and bask in all their glory as Honorary President, having done very little towards the actual physical work that they've all done. But they're always in my thoughts, and I've supported them for many years now because I have my entire broadcasting career to thank Hospital Radio for here in Truro. I was born in this very hospital and then started my broadcasting career in this very hospital with what was then Truro Hospital Radio. It's scary to think when I look at the dates that have come up on the screen today that it was only 6 years after it actually started that I was broadcasting on Truro Hospital Radio. And back then, we were only on air for 2 hours a night, and I did a Saturday night, 8 till 10. We came in and did a little bit of a ward round and collected requests, then came back to the studio, and then selected some vinyl records. Who remembers those? And played vinyl records on record players, and that's all we had. It was very primitive. I mean, we thought it was state of the art at the time, but when I look back, it was very primitive. And most of the rest of the time, the output was BBC Radio 2 rebroadcast on the frequency. So it wasn't a lot of output, and it was a bit ramshackle. And I have to say, when you spoke to people and said you worked for Hospital Radio, it got lots of chuckles, and people thought, oh, well, a bunch of amateurs who don't really know what they're doing, they're just playing at radio. I have to say, I have spent the last 20, 30 years trying to re-educate people, particularly when it comes to CHBN, because there is nothing really to distinguish between what CHBN does and what professional radio stations do. Albeit it's a charity, it's got charitable status, but otherwise, as we've heard from Mark this afternoon, the equipment is as good as, if not better, than most of the main broadcasters currently have. The output is 24 hours. The range and quality of programmes is as good as anything you'll hear anywhere else. So I spend a lot of my time trying to knock back this image that some people have of hospital radio, that it is nothing more than a group of amateur people who are not very good, because that's absolutely not the case. And as you will see if you haven't already, and I'm looking forward to seeing the studios as well, they are state of the art. And that means the output is really top class as well. And it's been an incredible journey to witness. As I said, I'm a bit of a backseat driver. I come along and give a bit of support where I can, but the hard work has been driven by Mark, by Elizabeth, as Mark mentioned, his mum before that, and by the committee and all the volunteers who have really established the most amazing service here that goes out not just in the hospital, but beyond that and the wider community as well. And to see that journey progress over the last few years, and I've been involved for so long now, I've lost track. Is this about the third studio, I think, maybe, that I've seen as president transform into and move into? So they really have worked very hard to keep the standards high, to keep the equipment as good as it possibly can be. COVID could have been the end, I have to say. When the station closed effectively, or the building was not accessible for presenters, it would have been very easy, just as a group of volunteers, to walk away and say that was it. But actually, it was the impetus that the station needed to keep going and to build. And local radio elsewhere is going the other way, sadly. It is not as local as it was. I was driving down today from home near Plymouth, listening to Radio Cornwall, which at the weekend is joined with Radio Devon. And so I was driving down, hearing travel news for Devon, and hearing Devon mentioned, callers from Devon, listening to Radio Cornwall. And I just thought, well, this is a sorry state of affairs that local radio is going the opposite to truly local. So that is where CHBN really can build on its reputation, build on its localness, and the fact that people live and work here and know this county well and are broadcasting for this county, from this county, and for this county. So I hope, and I am absolutely confident, it will go from strength to strength. Congratulations to everyone on the milestones that you've reached this year, particularly the new studio. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next few years will bring, the next chapters will bring, because as I say, I'm sure that Hospital Radio here in Cornwall, particularly CHBN, has a very great and secure future, thanks to all the hard work of everyone involved, and particularly thanks as well to the support that the Lions have given over the years. Many, many thousands of pounds have been raised to make it all possible. And the Lions quite often are below the radar. A lot of people don't realise the great work they do behind the scenes to support lots of organisations, but particularly their support for CHBN has been invaluable. So thank you to them. Thank you to all of you for your support today. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me. Many congratulations on the new studio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin. And it's so lovely to have the support of somebody like you, with to be able to have that at the helm of the organisation. It's really I'm so proud and so pleased that you're involved with us. And I have to say, even when you come to all of our AGMs and you say a few words at the end, everybody is listening intently to those words, and a lot of what you say then helps shape the way that things will go in the following year. So I really appreciate your support and encouragement over the years, and it's an honour and a privilege to have you on board with us. Thank you. I'd like to now call upon Mary McLean, the chair of the Royal Cornwall Hospitals Trust, to come and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. As you say, I'm Mary McLean, I'm the chairwoman of the Trust, and I'm here on the behalf of the board to say our heartfelt thanks to everybody. And perhaps before I do say more thank yous, I'd just like to say, Mark, your speech was an inspiration. It truly was. It was such a perfect example of small beginnings, good forward thinking, going with all the flows and falls and the tumbles, and actually still being forward thinking. Absolutely amazing, really inspiring. And I think being asked to be here this afternoon is an honour for me. I've been here as a relative of a patient rather more times than I'd like to be, and I'm a social worker by background, so I kind of get it from the patient's point of view. And something that I think is incredibly important is that progress that you've made through to 24/7. You know, because it's those dark, small hours, isn't it, that are really distressing for people in hospital. And just to think there's another human being out there that we can listen to. I also know what an incredible help it is to the staff. And it's lovely to see that staff can now have requests and dedications made for them. But I think I won't repeat the history because you did it so capably. But it is amazing to me too to just reflect on what I was doing 44 years ago and listening to Top of the Pops all afternoon on a Sunday and being very affected by the value of radio. And I think when you think back over the time, I was amused to read about Anne Pound's contribution as the personal assistant to the matron. I pointed it out to my personal assistant and made some suggestions as to what she might like to do. But how amazing that was a personal and a family involvement in something so worthwhile. I too would like to thank the Lions Club because, as you said, Justin, people don't always see the work that goes on, and it is so valuable. And particularly what I'm here to do is to thank and celebrate the volunteers. When you read out the number of hours that we're talking about, that is time given freely and willingly. And I know that it's a two-way street. Volunteers also enjoy what we do as volunteers, but it is so heartwarming, I think, when you are feeling vulnerable, if you are in hospital, to know there are other human beings out there giving of their time. And we recently celebrated the Butterflies people who help with end-of-life care. And it isn't just time people give, is it? It's smiles, it's energy, it's drive, it's that dedication to care for others that I want to celebrate today. I'm so pleased that you mentioned your mother. I thought you did it beautifully, and how proud she would be of you. I really think that. Brings tears to my eyes, sorry. But also just looking at, again, that piece of history of people, you know, John Rogers, his friend Alan Pope, his friend John Moyes, you know, people, too many to mention really, and I'm so glad you've named some. But in a funny kind of way, naming individuals isn't quite right, because I think people who volunteer don't do it for that. We don't do it for glory. People do it because they really want to, and they want to make that amazing contribution. The other thing I would want to touch on is how important the work that you're doing about health and well-being really is, and actually getting those messages across. Because how else do we do it? How else do we represent things in an even fashion? You know, we tend to get news that we worry about now. Is it false? Is it true? We don't really know anymore. But the way you present and the messages that you put across. And actually sitting here this afternoon, I've been thinking to myself, do you know, the Archers got started, didn't it, as a programme about giving messages about farming. I wonder whether we should start a hospital version of the Archers and have a tale of hospital folk and, you know, giving out some of those good messages. Because no doubt a storyline is the way to get messages out and about the place, isn't it? I think you have already named the people. I would just like to add the people who helped to make this event possible, and I know how much hard work that is. But certainly Clarissa Jacobs and Jean Main-Reid have really put a lot of effort into the event. And then you did mention Colin McLaren and Jeff Sanders and Harley Rowlands, Mark Webster, Derek Pascoe, Pete Young, but particularly all of these volunteers. I am so proud of what we do as a hospital. I think we hear all sorts of things. A lot of them are true about how difficult life is in the NHS at the moment. But my experience, and I think yours too, is that however hard it is to get in, once we get in here, the work is amazing. However many people write to me and tell me about bad or good experiences, but they say the people were so kind, the people were so caring, and we felt cared for. And recently at our board meetings, we hear about so many more advances around being more inclusive, about better signage in the hospital, about changing Places, I think it's called, the charity that looks after better toilets for people with different needs. These things are absolutely vital. I have a very disabled son myself. How do you change somebody who has to be laid down on a floor when the floor might not be very clean? So some of these things that we're doing as a trust are quite amazing. I'm really proud of them, but I'm much more proud of being able to be your chairman and to represent our board in thanking you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for your very kind words. It means a lot, and it means a lot to have the support of the Royal Cornwall Hospitals Trust generally. And I have to say, I'm absolutely inspired by all of the amazing work that goes on. We were saying about this earlier, the amazing work that goes on within the trust. And it's an honour and a privilege for the work that we've done over the years to be able to help showcase that. And like I say, if by what we're doing, we're helping to showcase the amazing work that goes on, and we're hopefully improving people's health and well-being in some way, shape or form, then it makes the time and effort that we put all in absolutely worthwhile. I hope you'll all agree. So really appreciate your support. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call upon Lionel Knight, the town crier of Truro, but who also has something else to reveal about his history. Good
afternoon, everyone. Mark, thank you very much for inviting me, and my wife, Adam, thank you very much, and everybody. And like I say, I think there's a few words, but I think everybody else has took them from me. Justin and all that mentioned about vinyl records. Now, I spent about 2.5 years with Hospital Radio. I worked here in the hospital as a porter, getting patients' requests, bringing down. I used to do Monday evenings from 6 to 8. There was my partner was a policeman here on the site at the time, Tony. So I used to do all that with them and get the requests for people. The guy used to come on behind me that we used to have a bit of banter with. He's got on very well. Justin, I think, knows who I mean. He's at Radio Cornwall at the moment, but he started off here. He was a student. He used to come in at 8 o'clock. We used to jam the door for him. He used to come and bang the door and let me in, let me in. And that's James Dundon. And also with me, well, with us, it was Ross Ellis. He started his career here at the hospital. Like I say, I can't speak no more highly of what you do. Absolutely fantastic. Really fantastic, all of you. All you volunteers, you do a fantastic job here at Hospital Radio. Like I say, I spent several years here working here up here. I enjoyed myself with it. In Hospital Radio, it was great fun. And like I say, I'm going back to Elizabeth. Yes. Lovely lady. She's the one who got me actually to join. So I took it on, and we had a great bit of fun, banter, and it was just absolutely brilliant. And it was over 20 years ago that I'd done it here. They say great fun. And again, what you do, Mark, and all you volunteers, absolutely brilliant. I know I'm a volunteer in town and that, but you do an excellent job here, absolutely brilliant, and congratulations on your 44 years, and I hope another 44 years, Mark, that we may be able to come back again and celebrate again. Okay? Thank you very much, and well done to all of you. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lionel. I have some very happy memories from those days. Back then, it was great. I really enjoyed that time, and yeah, it's so lovely to have you with us today, and also to just have your support, because I know we see you around and about quite a lot when we're out and about in the area. So it's lovely to have your support. So really appreciate it. And I'm surprised you need a microphone, actually, but but no, it's great to have you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So now what I'd like to do is to do a presentation of long service awards. So I talked about the volunteers that we had involved in the station, and actually totalling up amongst the current team, we have 241 years of service amongst the existing team, with 23 of the existing team serving 5 years or longer. So what I'd like to do is to take an opportunity to recognise that today by commemorating with some length of service certificates. So I'll call members forward. We've got some that are here and some that aren't. The ones that aren't, we will let them have the certificates afterwards. But I will ask Justin to come forward to present the certificates with certificates in 5-year intervals. So as we're going along, I'll explain how many years for each volunteer, and then if they can come forward to pick up their certificate and have a photograph with Jeff. And then we've got some envelopes afterwards for you to come and pick up if you would like. So some of these up here, so he's not here, but we've got Mark O'Brien, who will have a certificate for 5 years service. Mike Abbott-Smith has had 6 years service with the station, so congratulations to him. Steve Bailey was hoping to be here, but unfortunately he's got COVID, so unfortunately he's not here, but he's got 6 years of service with the station. Julian Herbert, who I know is here, if you could come forward for 6 years service of the station as well.
Congratulations.
Oops. Thank you very much. Karen Webster, that also isn't here today, unfortunately, but she's got 6 years service with the station. Somebody else who is here is Jeff Jacobs with 7 years. Dieter Keller, who isn't here unfortunately, but he's 9 years service for the station. Derek Pascoe for 9 years of the station, who is here. Thank you very much. Harley Rowlands, I don't think Harley is here. No, so he's 9 years service with the station. Kath Late, who also isn't here unfortunately, 10 year certificate for Kath. Jean Main Reid for 10 years service at the station. Oh, no, Thank you very much. Colin McLaren also for 10 years, who also unfortunately isn't here today. Keith Naylor, who is due a 10-year certificate, also isn't here unfortunately. But Mark Webster for 10 years. Is Mark here? Is he still up at the studio? He's up at the studio still, so yeah, just checking. For 11 years service, Clarissa Jacobs. And we now have a line of people that I definitely know are here. Mike Brown for 12 years service.
Well done. Hang on. There we go. Cheers. Thank you.
Now, this next name will be coming up once again later, but for now, for 12 years service at CHBN, Peter Dowsett.
Thank you.
And for 12 years service of CHBN, Joanna Dowsett.
Thank you.
For 15 years service, Adam Carpenter. Also for 15 years service, Dave Maybank. For 17 years service, Jason Moyle. Oops. The photo on the next one might be a little bit tricky. For 23 years, it's Jeff Sanders. And finally, I'm not sure about this person, but 24 years is me. So. Thank you very much. Thank you. And inspired by what the Friends of the Royal Cornwall Hospital do, what we're going to be doing going forwards is presenting these at our annual general meeting. So those that are up towards the next 5-year increment, then you'll be getting your certificates next year. So congratulations to everybody, and it's wonderful to have to have that length of service and that amount of support. It really means a huge amount. There are a couple of certificates left because I mentioned Peter and Joanna. Although they've been with the station for 12 years, actually they've been involved with hospital radio far, far, far longer than that. Because they were involved at Whipps Cross Hospital Radio up in London, and so I thought it was fitting for us to mark their overall contribution to hospital and community radio. So I'd like to first of all to bring. We got Peter. So we'll bring Joanna up first for 35 overall years service. And Peter Dowsett for 45 years overall.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
This is nuts. 45 years. It's a half a lifetime, isn't it? I started on the 7th of February 1976, before a lot of you were born, of course. And I'd had a tragedy in my life. It became a lifesaver. I got into it, and the bug bit me. It's in the blood, and to the day I die, I will still do this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter, and yeah, an absolutely incredible achievement. So thank you all. Thank you all very much for that. What we've got now is we will commence the studio tours now. So if you've booked yourself on a studio tour, I know we're running slightly late, so we might need to adjust the times. But the 3:30 tour will go very, very shortly now, and then there'll be 20-minute intervals after that. So if you haven't put your name down and would like to go and visit the studio, then please do so. If you can't visit the studio today but would like to come back, then let one of us know, and we will be in touch to arrange another trip alternatively. But apart from that, enjoy the refreshments that are at the back. We've got some presentations going around the history of the station, and also a little bit more about the station. And of course, feel free to talk to any of us. We'll be very glad to chat to you. And once again, really thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate it.